This is the Getto Free Press, and prior to leaving this event in Atlanta, the capital of the state of Georgia, there was some people at the press box. The people in the press box wanted to ask a few questions, and the Honorable C.B. King and the representative from Al Sharpton's organization, the National Action Network, entertained a few questions from concerned people, and listen to these before we close this out. Listen, please.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now.
Couple of questions. Whoever you want to. And I'm here in Atlanta. We have covered this story, and can you identify as family members for us?
This is Jackie Johnson. This is Kenneth Johnson. The mother and grandmother of Kendrick Johnson.
Just the question I was going to ask you. I know that the young man behind you said that they're going to have a nonviolent protest, an action in Lowndes County. I'm just curious, I'm not sure if you want to respond, maybe he would, what are some of the things that they're planning to do to bring this issue to the surface, particularly there in that location?
Well, I think if you consider what has been done up until this point, there had been a rally at the Lowndes County Courthouse. There was another demonstration that resulted in something of a sit-in at the courthouse that resulted in the arrest of the parents and 5 other members of the family. And I think that continuing in the tradition of nonviolent struggle, but one which is steadfast in our commitment to bring attention to acts of injustice, this is what you can anticipate will take place on Thursday and the days to come.
And as far as those who aren't familiar with Lowndes County, if you were someone to sort of characterize the county, I'm not that knowledgeable of a history of the racial division or how African Americans are treated or handled, or if that's applicable today, but if you want to, just how would you characterize how, other than what the sheriff has done and failed to do, you would characterize that community?
Well, I don't know that the community is all that dramatically different from other parts of the state outside of Atlanta, simply because of the numbers that you have in this community, in contrast with other communities much smaller in size and located in more agrarian type environments. I will say this, that Lowndes County tends to be one of the faster growing communities in South Georgia, and think that it's uniquely situated to perhaps be, as I said, one of the faster growing communities. That's about all that I can tell you about it.
The only question that I was going to ask you is, once the Attorney General received this letter, what are you hopeful for as far as the next steps and how they move forward and notify the family of all those involved that are basically asking for the information to be released?
Well, essentially, that is our focus at this time. We want the Attorney General to give whatever assistance he can to cause the Sheriff's Department and any other agency that has had an open records request put upon them to make a full disclosure of all of the information that has been collected during the investigation. We believe this information is essential for purposes of helping to find the truth of what happened to Mr. Johnson. We certainly know that based upon what has been disclosed thus far, that is not the truth. And so that only as a result of the disclosure will we be able to find what happened, find out what happened to Kendrick.
Attorney King, can I ask one question?
Sure.
How can they say, looking at his face, there was an accident, he did this to himself? How can that be?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that question for you. I can certainly say that for me, looking at his face, there is absolutely no way that in the exercise of common sense, you could agree to any such conclusion.
And all of this is supposed to have him stand up. 12 hours, he was missing and was found.
Yes.
And he was upside down on the mat and it's supposed to look like this.
Well, in addition to that, something else that I find to be as startling is the idea that he would go missing upside down on the mat and in a gymnasium where there was supposed to be a classroom full of other students, that he never was able to alert anybody that he was stuck upside down on the mat. That's just totally unbelievable.
There's someone saying they missing his clothes, the mat, all that's gone?
Well, we don't know about the mat, but we do know that as a result of our investigators attempting to track down where his clothing disappeared to, the distance between the Macon crime lab to Valdosta has been thoroughly researched, and for some unknown reason, his clothing is not to be found.
Now, his clothing are lost. Anybody of average intelligence would simply like to know where are the clothes. There should be a chain of command, or rather a chain of accountability, especially when you're dealing with government agencies. Well, here again. Well, listen please.
I think that is an important piece of potential evidence, inasmuch as clothing collects all sorts of trace evidence that could identify not only what was the manner of death, but who may have been involved.
I have a question. Considering the populace back in Valdosta, when the family were denied the opportunity to ID their son after they found him, do you feel that this automatically put questions in the minds of the general public?
Well, it certainly crossed my mind. The fact that if you looked at his photograph after the body had been discovered, and you considered that that is not how he looked before this event, then who else was more qualified to identify him than the parents? And at that particular time that he was to be identified, his mother was present on the school grounds, as I understand it.
Okay, one other question. Considering everything that have happened and the fact that Valdosta and Lowndes County leads the state of Georgia in jail deaths from 1994 to 2009, and from 2009, even after repeated requests under the Georgia Open Records Act have been denied, do you feel like that this is nothing new, that there's a great possibility that this has been going on for a long time, and therefore the citizens of Valdosta just don't know what's going on in their community under the hands of our sheriff's department?
Well, certainly I would like to say that what you described is unique to Valdosta. And quite frankly, I think that it tells as much about the face of America.
Yeah.
We have these kinds of injustices occurring all over our country until we decide that we are going to insist upon the exercise of our right to know and as well to test whatever they claim is justice, and there will be no justice.
My last question. How do you feel, and not necessarily feel, but how do you feel about the support from the people in Valdosta? I just heard them talk about civil disobedience or following the Civil Rights Act of nonviolence. Haven't that already taken place And I think it have. My real question I want you to answer: how many people were arrested by the sheriff department already in acts of civil disobedience to draw attention to this particular death, so other people across America would know what the family is going through and trying to get justice in this case?
Well, based upon what I'm aware of, there were a total of 7 individuals who were arrested, 2 of whom included Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. And certainly I would hope that as we go forward with the demonstrations and doing whatever it takes in order to bring attention to this matter, that we will have a growing number of community participants who are willing to step up and to, again, draw attention to this injustice.
I just want to add that tonight I was over to my beautiful brother and Reverend, what's his name? Oh my God. John Henry Robinson's house. And we were sitting playing chess, and his wife called us upstairs, and believe it or not, this particular case, and by the way, today is September the 3rd, 2013. This is a march in the state capital of Atlanta, which happens, oh my God, many months ago. And I'm just playing it here because the fact that the autopsy, the second autopsy results just came in. But as I was saying, so Mr. Robinson, Reverend Robinson's wife called us upstairs at their house down in Lake Park, and of course, this particular case and the findings of the autopsy was on Anderson Cooper program 360 tonight, and we found it to be very interesting. We think that this is something that have been needed here in Valdosta-Lowndes County. And so to be truthful with you, it seems as if though the local news media, and we do, and most everybody in South Georgia knows that we really don't have a news media that will report fair and balanced coverage of what goes on in our community. And of course, it's all been documented on KVCI. That's kvci.blogspot.com. But I just want to say that I'm sure that all the people in South Georgia are thankful to Anderson Cooper for doing something that nobody else have done to that larger degree. So CNN, I guess the community on behalf of the people of the state of Georgia, both black and white people and other people, thank you for your coverage, man.
Attorney King, have you heard there's intimidation going to some of the churches in terms of don't do anything, don't say anything, just leave it all alone?
Yes, I've heard reports of various acts of intimidation. None of this has been confirmed in the sense that I've had the chance to actually speak to someone who says that they were threatened or in some way told not to disclose information that they are in possession of, but this is nothing new.
Now, intimidation, that's a very powerful question. And as John Robinson, Reverend Robinson says to me, Brother Rhymes, you were picked up or you were stopped and suppressed and controlled and restricted from all properties of Lowndes County School because undoubtedly they had something to hide. There's a conspiracy and among other things. Well, Robinson was in a 12-year litigation, which he'll have to tell you about. But I take what he say very seriously because he's a man of high regards and high credibility in the community of Valdosta as well as down in Indiantown, Florida. And so there's a great possibility that the reason why I'm under this criminal trespass warning for 112 days now is because of the fact that they know that if somebody come to me, we're going to publish it. Because if I put my life on the line for 21 years in the United States Armed Forces, then truly if I can stand up for foreigners during the Vietnam War and other great wars of this nation, then surely I should be able to stand up for my children, loved ones, and neighbors across the street, and in some cases, even my enemies here in the United States. Listen, please, I'm sorry.
This is something that is done quite often in small communities where everybody knows everybody, and it is very effective in keeping information from the public.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Once again, you all, Thursday at 11 o'clock.
Once again, this is in Atlanta, Georgia. and it was recorded months before September the 3rd, 2013, when the second autopsy findings were finally released to the general public. And we know that the G.B.R. said that they did not delay the autopsy, but there's a great possibility that the family did not get some of the information that they requested from different agencies in the state of Georgia, and that very well could have contributed to the delay of the autopsy. But as I'm often told by the father, that it took the G.B.R. months, if not 4.5 months, to render a finding. So why did we rush the second autopsy pathologists from doing their job? And I hope that they did a thorough investigation and examination based on what was available to them. Once again, this is the Getto Free Press. We doing what we do because it's time for us to press the information to the minds and hearts of men, women, and children who would like to know. And under our form of government, we do have a right to know. Once again, KYRC, Know Your Rights Campaign, and of course, the Getto Free Press. George Boston Rhymes. Bye-bye. We go.